The movie opens up with a lighthouse keeper, Tom, noticing an injured woman who has washed up on the shore during a hurricane. He takes her inside the lighthouse and tends to her. Tom finds that the woman has strange habits when she eats his fish. At first, the woman is wary of the keeper, but she soon opens up and introduces herself to him. She tells him that her name is Atlanta, the Queen of Atlantis. The lighthouse keeper introduces himself as Tom, and the two of them begin to fall in love. Years later, Atlanta gives birth to a baby boy, whom she names Arthur, after a hurricane. While the three of them live a normal life, they are suddenly attacked by guards from Atlantis one day. Atlanta manages to fight them off, but decides to go back to her kingdom to keep her family safe. She tells Tom that if she stays with them, her father will send more men looking for her. The scene changes to Arthur on a trip with his elementary school to the aquarium. As his teacher explains the various fish in the aquarium, Arthur begins talking to them through the glass separating them. Two bullies approach him and begin mocking him for talking to the fish as if they understand him. Suddenly, a shark starts banging on the glass and manages to crack it. Seeing this, the bullies back off, scared that the glass might break. Arthur turns around and lifts his arm. The shark immediately calms down, and all of the fish in the aquarium start to gather behind him. When he opens his eyes, they begin to glow yellow. As Arthur gets older, he is trained by Vulko, who teaches him how to use his trident and helps him explore the ocean. Vulko tells him that his mother was engaged to a prince, but had run away, and that is when she found Tom. However, she had to go back and marry him to protect Arthur and Tom. 10 years later, deep inside the ocean, a Russian submarine is hijacked by Jesse and David Kane. They slaughter most of the crew and are about to slay the captain as well when the submarine starts shaking. Under the submarine, Arthur, who has come to be known as the Aquaman, pushes the submarine to the surface. He then goes inside and attacks the two hijackers. They try fighting back, but Arthur is too strong and he manages to take David down. Then, Jesse picks up a gun and fires it at Arthur while he is distracted. The bullet hits Arthur, but it does not affect him, and he gets back up before attacking Jesse and pinning him to the submarine wall. During this, the submarine gets damaged, and water begins gushing inside. Arthur begins to leave when David gets up and tries to free his father from the wall. When he is unable to free him, he begs Arthur for his help. However, Arthur refuses and tells him that they don't deserve to live, since they have taken so many innocent lives. Jesse then tells David to leave the submarine as well, because he does not want his son to drown along with him. When the water levels rise to a dangerous level, David climbs out and takes a small submarine to escape. Meanwhile, Arthur helps the surviving crew get to shore using lifeboats. At the dock, he finds his father standing at his usual place, waiting for his son. Once everyone safely leaves the boats, Arthur and his father go to a bar. There, the two of them notice a news broadcaster narrating the heroic act of Aquaman. Tom praises his son's bravery and tells him that he does not doubt that his son will be the person who will end up uniting Atlantis with the human world. Just then, a group of bikers approaches Arthur and his father. Assuming that they are there to pick a fight, Tom begins to stand up to keep them away from Arthur. Much to their surprise, the bikers are Aquaman's fans and only want to take a picture with him. Meanwhile, in Atlantis, Orm, who is Arthur's half-brother, meets with King Nereus. He tells the king that humans are polluting their waters, which is poisoning them. He wants to go to war against the humans, and needs the king's help. The king tells him that he will never approve of a war against humans, because that would cause mass genocide. Suddenly, a submarine attacks them and starts to wreak havoc. Orm manages to destroy the submarine, and then once again joins King Nereus. Seeing the destruction around him, the king agrees to join Orm in his war against humans. At the same time, Arthur and his father are driving back home when they notice a destructive tsunami. Arthur asks Tom to drive faster as the large waves begin chasing their car, but before they can get away, the water engulfs them. Arthur begins searching for Tom, but is unable to find him. Just then, Princess Mira emerges from the water, carrying Tom. She tells Arthur that his father has agreed to go against the humans, and this war will cause casualties on both sides. She tells him that she needs his help in stopping her father and Orm. Elsewhere, King Nereus's men find David and offer him money, but he tells them that he does not want money and only wants to get his revenge on Aquaman. Then, Mira convinces Arthur to go back to Atlantis. At first, he is hesitant, but agrees when he thinks of his parents. When they reach Atlantis, they are greeted by Vulko. Vulko tells the two of them that Orm has already begun preparations for the war, and if he manages to convince the remaining 4 kingdoms to join him in the war, the humans will lose. He then tells the two of them about the first king of Atlantis, back when Atlantis was not underwater. He tells them that the king had a special trident that was so powerful, he could control water at his will. However, the king got too power-hungry and began misusing the trident's powers. This caused a powerful tsunami that destroyed everything and caused Atlantis to submerge underwater. The king quickly realized his mistake and swore never to use the trident again to harm anyone. He gave the people of Atlantis the power to survive underwater and then hid himself and the trident in a place that is not known by anyone. Vulko tells Arthur that in order to win the war, he needs the king's trident, because Orm and his army are powerful. He gives Mira and Arthur a device that is the last known connection to the king, but no one to this day knows how to use it. Before Volko can tell them more about it, Orm's men attack them. They overpower Arthur and take him to Orm. Orm restrains Arthur and blames him for their mother's passing. Arthur then challenges Orm to a fight. Just then, Mira tells Orm to try and get along with Arthur. After all, they are half-brothers. It turns out that Mira is engaged to Orm, and the two are going to marry soon. However, Mira does not agree with Orm's idea of waging war against humans. A few hours later, an audience gathers around them, and Orm hands Arthur their mother's trident back. He tells Arthur that the two of them are going to fight, to prove that he is the rightful heir to the throne. Even though Arthur does not want to fight to prove his worth, he still has to defend himself, which is why he takes the trident. Orm then attacks him, and the two of them engage in a furious battle. Since Orm is used to living and fighting underwater, he is able to get the upper hand, and he throws Arthur away. He then attacks Arthur while he is still down, causing his trident to break. Just when he is about to deliver the final blow, Mira attacks Orm, and the two of them get on a watercraft so that they can leave. They then reach the Sahara Desert. They come across a temple where the king's trident was made. Upon entering, they find a large machine. They try touching it, but nothing happens. Then, Arthur pulls out the device that Volko gave them and inserts it in the middle, but nothing happens. Then, Mira uses sweat from Arthur's forehead and uses it to activate the machine. It turns out that the device needed to be dry and then get a drop of water to activate it. Suddenly, a hologram of the king appears in front of them. The king tells them that his trident was made from Poseidon's steel and that it is so powerful that it will give anyone who uses it the power to control both the human and the underwater world. He tells them that they need to make sure that the trident does not fall into the wrong hands. Then the hologram disappears, and the machine opens up to reveal a bottle with a map inside it. The map leads them to Sicily. Back in Atlantis, Orm tracks Mira using a bracelet that he had given her, and deploys his men to find them. He then contacts David and gives him a special suit that will help him fight against Arthur. David takes the powerful suit and weapons and begins making tweaks to equip the suit with explosives. At the same time, Orm approaches the fisherman king and asks him to join his war, but when the king refuses, Orm stabs him. He leaves, but not before telling the king's wife to prepare their forces for the war. Arthur and Mira reach Sicily, where they follow the king's hint and manage to find that one of the statues is pointing towards the location of the trident. At that moment, David lands with Atlantean guards and begins fighting against the two of them. After a furious battle, Arthur manages to take down David and escapes with Mira using a boat. According to the king's directions, they begin heading towards the trench, a dangerous part of the sea that everyone has been forbidden to enter. Arthur tells Mira that he feels like he is not suited to lead people, but she assures him that he is the one true king, meant to rule over Atlantis. As nighttime comes, creatures from the trench begin attacking Mira and Arthur. When their boat fills up with the creatures, Mira and Arthur jump off the boat. Inside the ocean, Mira is about to be eaten by a large animal when someone pulls her and Arthur out of harm's way and takes them towards the shore. Arthur discovers that the person who saved them is his mother, Atlanta. Atlanta hugs her son and tells him that she narrowly escaped her execution, but had gotten stuck in the uncharted sea and could not escape without help. She tells Arthur that the trident is located behind a waterfall, and only the true king can get to it. When Arthur enters the cave behind the waterfall, he notices the trident. Before he can reach it, a creature attacks him. It turns out that the king left the creature to guard the trident, and only allow the true king to take it. When Arthur unknowingly communicates with the creature, it allows him to take the trident, giving Arthur immense power. Arthur, Mira, and Atlanta then head back to Atlantis, where Orm has gathered his army, ready to attack the human world. Another furious battle begins, and Arthur manages to take down Orm's army, causing most of them to renounce their loyalty. Arthur then attacks Orm and takes him to the surface, where the two of them continue fighting until Arthur breaks Orm's trident. He spares Orm's life and ends the war. Then, Atlanta comes out of the ocean and reveals herself to Orm. She hugs him right before Arthur orders him to be taken away. Arthur is then recognized as the king of the underwater world, and all the sea creatures pledge their loyalty to him. A few days later, Arthur's father takes his place back at the dock, where he once again waits for Atlanta to return to him. This time, however, he notices Atlanta already waiting for him at the dock. The scene changes to David, who has managed to survive Arthur's attack and was left stranded in the sea. He is rescued by a man, who takes him back to his lab and begins to study his weapons. The movie ends with David telling the man that he will show him how the weapons work if he promises to help him take down Aquaman.